one of the sectors that we really like is fintech. And we've
Yes.
invested a lot in fintech across multiple markets. I think there is a massive opportunity in fintech in Indonesia, massive, right? And so we would love to partner with more founders in the very early stages of building fintech companies.
Visitos kembali hadir bersama saya Yeni Yusra dan kali ini kita akan berbincang-bincang dengan Abheek Anand, Managing Director at Sequoia Capital. Hi Abheek, apa kabar? How are you?
Hey, Annie, I'm very good. How are you?
So before we dive into the conversation, and I think most of the viewers is really excited about Sequoia, maybe you can explain yourself. What is Sequoia and what is your role in Sequoia?
Yes, of course. Hi, everybody. My name is Abheek Anand. I'm one of the partners at Sequoia. I'm sitting right now in Singapore. And as I was telling Yeni, I'm waiting to be in Jakarta very soon. Unfortunately, because of COVID, I haven't been able to come out there for a while. But I've been at Sequoia now for 9 years, 5 of them in Singapore, in helping us build out our Southeast Asia business. I know that some of you founders may have met us before, spoken to us before, but for
Yes.
folks who have not, Sequoia, this is a very special year for me to be having this conversation because this year Sequoia is going to finish 50 years of our business. So this is the 50th year anniversary for Sequoia. It's a really big year for us. And, we started off in California 50 years ago, but then really expanded globally over the last 15, 20 years. So we've been in Southeast Asia for about 9 years now. We're very actively investing in Southeast Asia. Look, we invest broadly in tech companies. I think if there's one thing I want you guys to take away, is we love partnering with companies at the very early stages. So, what we do sitting in Singapore is try to partner with founders and companies as early as possible. So the vast majority of our time is spent at seed and Series A. We love categories that are large and founders who are very bold and ambitious and want to build something for the rest of their lives. And we are really looking for, especially in the early days, what we and a lot of folks call founder market fit. Right?
Yeah.
We want founders who have an insight about a market that they want to build in, and for that market to be interesting and large, where something very meaningful can be built. And we spend most of our time, like I said, at the very early stages, because that's what we think is the right time for us to partner and be most effective as a partner to a startup.
Okay. So Sequoia is really famous in Indonesia's startup ecosystem, and you already built a strong presence here in Indonesia. Talk to me about what kind of startups in terms of Indonesian market that you are interested so far right now. Is there any changes because Indonesia startups ecosystem is creating more and more good startups in Indonesia right now? Do you see new potential with already in 2022 right now? Is it still the same in terms of the startup category for Indonesian market, or do you have a new kind of category for Indonesian startup?
Yeah, so that is a question which it's a little hard for me to answer because what we've realized is that founders come up with interesting businesses in all sorts of categories.
Right.
I'll give you a few examples. We spend all of our energy on tech companies.
Okay.
So I would say the majority of companies that we partner with are broadly tech businesses in either consumer internet, financial services, B2B software, or more recently in crypto and Web3. That is probably 80-90% of the companies that we partner with. But then every once in a while, we meet a fascinating company in a category that is not one of these four. For example, we recently invested in eFishery in Indonesia.
Yes.
And an amazing business built by an amazing founder. Now, we didn't have, aquaculture is one of the categories that we were looking for. But when we find large markets and passionate founders, that is the real sort of crux of what we are looking for. Massive category, a passionate founder, a tech advantage. That combination is usually what results in something very large and meaningful. As far as Indonesia is concerned, one thing that we've been very pleasantly surprised by is just, how deep these markets are.
Right.
Obviously, in some of the more well understood markets, lots of companies have been built that have gotten to nice scale, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's payments, whether it's transportation. But there are also all these new categories that are starting to emerge. And personally, that is what is most exciting for me. So, for example, one of the things that, one of the sectors that we really like is fintech. And we've
Yes.
invested a lot in fintech across multiple markets. I think there is a massive opportunity in
Yeah.
fintech in Indonesia, massive, right? And so we would love to partner with more founders in the very early stages of building fintech companies. Similarly, we are seeing lots of businesses being built on crypto and Web3 in Indonesia. Incredible market opportunity, lots of founders going after it. We would love to partner with more founders in that category. So broadly very open-minded. One of the things that we've realized is whenever we meet a founder, we meet with a very with a sense of curiosity and an open
Yeah.
mind, because sometimes the best businesses get built in categories that nobody expected them to come from. And so we always go with a
Yeah.
very open mind to all founder conversations.
So, are you still focusing on the seed stage, or later on you will focus on also the later stage?
So we do across the board. So at Sequoia,
Right.
our mission statement is we want to partner with founders from idea to IPO and beyond. What that
Right.
means is, you know, if you are a founder who has just started a company and just literally has an idea, hasn't launched, we can partner at that stage. We can partner at a Series A stage and obviously at a later stage as well. The seed stage for us is particularly exciting. So we very
Yes.
routinely invest in pre-launch companies. We've done that quite often. We actually have a program called Surge,
Yes.
which is been very effective
Yeah.
for the last 3 years, where now we have the sixth cohort of Surge, which is a product, which is a program where we invest up to $3 million in a seed stage company and help them really accelerate the path to product market fit. So for us, Surge is a very important stepping stone for seed stage companies, and we've partnered with a lot of companies in Indonesia for the Surge program, and we would love to do more in the very near term.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned search, because recently you already announced the newest cohort, right, for the search program. Talk to me about the difference between search program and it's the Sequoia itself. I mean, do you differentiate the search and the Sequoia in terms of funding? I mean, what kind of startups that are really perfect for search, and what kind of startup that right away secure capital, secure that already funded? I mean, is there
Yeah.
any different, or they have to join the search first and then the Sequoia will take over? Maybe you can expand on that.
So Surge is a program and Sequoia is an
Right.
investment.
Right.
If a company decides to go through Surge, Sequoia also invests in the company. Right? So it is a Sequoia investment, but it is a Surge company.
Right.
I'll give you a few examples of that. We've actually done this very often, where we've invested in Surge companies at the seed stage and then again in the Series A stage.
Right.
One very good example of that is a company called Lumo, which was
Yeah.
earlier called Bukutas.
Yes.
Right? So we invested in the company at the seed stage in the Surge program. Right after that, we led the Series A in the company. And then we participated in the Series B, and we just co-led the Series C. So 3 rounds of investments, from Sequoia in the same company, but it all started from Surge. Right?
Right.
We find that Surge is a great program for founders, not just because of the capital. See, money is relatively easy for high quality founders to find.
Yeah.
Really not a problem.
Uh,
The biggest advantage of Surge is how it helps founders learn from each other and really accelerate that path to product market fit. As my partner Rajan, who runs the Surge program, loves to call it, it's a surge to Series A. How can we get to a Series
oh.
A as fast as possible? And that's really what we're trying to do. We are trying to help founders compress the time between seed and Series A so they can build a larger company faster.
Okay, so what kind of programs that Sequoia is doing right now to empower female founders? I mean, maybe you have certain programs that empower them, or in terms of founder, you don't differentiate between female and male founders.
So Jenny, actually, I'm glad you asked this question.
Okay.
This is something that we are actually very committed to and very serious about. I'll give you one
Right.
example of the way we do it. We
Mm-hmm.
launched a program called Spark. Um,
Right.
Spark is a program that we launched, actually in a very early form, maybe a couple of years ago. Basically, all it did was it helped. It was a way for us to work with female founders, and before they actually
Uh-huh.
launched their company, no strings attached, just helping mentor those companies. So we did a few of these calls, and we realized the
Okay.
best way for us to really help these founders is to actually support them with advice, but also with some capital. So
Mm-hmm.
Spark is a very
Mm.
interesting initiative where we have taken a bunch of you know women founders, and we are giving them grants. It's not an investment.
Right.
There is no equity for it. It's
Uh-huh.
just a grant, right? And so
Wow.
we've made these grants now to, in the current cohort, 9 founders, where you've just given them money.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we believe is, in the very early days, we want to make it as easy as possible for women to start companies. They shouldn't have to think about,
Yes.
where does my first money come from. This is the way in which we've been able to find all these really smart, really intelligent, very motivated women who want
Mm-hmm.
to build something, and helping them not just in the 0 to 1 journey, but really just getting off the ground. How do we make
Mm-hmm.
it as easy as possible for women to start companies? Because look, I think it makes sense from a community perspective. It's the right thing to do. It makes business sense for us. There is so
Yeah.
many women out there who want to become founders, and we really want to go out and
Yes.
support them very, very actively. So Spark is one
Okay.
initiative that we've done. Obviously, there are many others as well, but this is the most direct one that's related to helping women founders in our
Mm-hmm.
ecosystem, and that one that we are very, very excited about.
It's interesting. You have Search, you have Spark. Is that something that you are aiming for in terms of increasing the startup ecosystem in each country, especially Indonesia, to create this opportunity for them to join the platforms, and not only for the funding itself, but also the mentoring, right, from Sequoia itself?
Absolutely. And Yenny, look, I think
Right.
that is 100% true. Look, I think we think of Sequoia not as an investor, but as a business
Right.
partner. Look, money is, you know, the best founders will have access to money, and we will make
Yeah.
sure that we invest in those companies. But if you go with a business partnership mindset, is very different.
Yeah.
I'll give you a couple of
Mm-hmm.
more examples. You know, we've built these programs, and that's actually a core part of how we are trying to help the community, because these
Mm-hmm.
programs, they really vary from stage to stage. So, for example, women founders who are just getting started, the
Yeah.
Spark program is for them.
Right.
Seed stage companies where we invest, the Search program is for them.
Uh-huh.
We now have a program for Series B companies,
Wow.
where companies that are at a point where they have gotten to some product market fit and scale, and they really want to get to the next level. What are the challenges of
Mm-hmm.
a Series B founder? How do I attract the best talent? How do I create a good culture? How do I
Yeah.
build the right strategy? How do I think about economics versus growth? So we have a program called Sequoia Build, which is,
Mm-hmm.
we have a different bunch of names for this, but that is a program for Series B founders. Right? And then finally, we actually, and these are
Okay.
all things that exist today. There'll obviously be a lot more things that will come later as well. We have another program
Mm-hmm.
called Guild. That is for the very, very, the most successful founders, the decacorn founders, the unicorn founders. Because even when somebody has built a $10 billion company, they're still thinking, where does the next level of growth come from? How do I go from 10 to 20 to
Yes.
30 to 40? And so for those founders, we've created another very, very special program called Guild. So, our philosophy is very simple, Yani. It's not
Yeah.
about just investing. It's about how can we help people build successful, enduring companies. And, we really want to invest behind that kind of help, not just capital.
So, Abheek, you've been doing this for quite a long time, right? And you've stayed at Sequoia for such a long time also. Do you still find there's a mistake that startup founders already, when they approach the VC? Is there any certain mistake that you right away spot on, and how do you correct that? And not to, overwhelm the founder, because, I mean, fundraising is really hard, right? How is it for them to create a good nature of fundraising progress,
Yeah,
not only succeed but also create a good networking with the VC itself?
yeah. Yeah, Yanni, look, I think that is a very good question. We can talk for a long time about it. Let me tell you a few things that I think are very important. No, it's true. There is so much
Okay.
complexity and nuance to fundraising. It could take, it's
Yeah.
an art. What we found is that the best fundraising is
Mm-hmm.
when you pick not only does the investor pick the company, but the company picks the investor as well. When you have
Oh.
that match, that's when conversations are much easier. So, for example,
Yes.
from a founder's perspective, it is helpful to think about who are the investors that understand my business, right?
Yeah.
Who are the people who can be really value adding? Sometimes what we find is, founders go and meet 20 different investors, but the reality is,
Mm-hmm.
half of them are just not a fit for this kind of a category because they don't understand this category or they don't want to invest in this category. So one is building that relationship with an investor to say, who are the 4 or 5 people who really understand and get it, understand what I'm trying to build. That's
Okay.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Look, the second thing is from I'll tell you, from our perspective, how do we think about every company that we meet?
Yeah.
We never ask ourselves the question, what can go wrong? We never ask
Oh.
ourselves that. And that's
Okay.
actually very important because in an early stage company, so many things can go wrong, right? So many things.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
instead, the question we ask ourselves is, what happens if everything goes right? Does this become an exciting company then?
Oh.
That's in some
Yes.
ways, a much harder question to answer. You almost have to train your mind to go from trying to find things
Yeah.
that could go wrong to saying, hey, let's believe in the founder. Let's go with them and dream with them to see what they can build.
Uh-huh.
And if that becomes an interesting company or not. From a
Uh-huh.
founder's perspective, I would encourage them to say
Yeah.
the same, use the same almost reversal of mindset when they come and pitch to investors. Don't worry about all the things that can go wrong. Paint a
Okay.
picture of what an amazing
Yes.
company you will build if everything goes right. And then, it's up to the founder and the investor to work together to make sure that everything can go right. But if you focus on that, don't worry about the stuff that
Yes.
can go wrong. People invest, investors invest in companies not because they are afraid of losing money. They invest in companies because they think that if it works,
Mm-hmm.
it can be very large. So founders just have to embrace the
Yes.
same philosophy. Just tell us, tell us what you will be building. What happens if everything goes right? And the right investors will say, yeah, let's go along with the right.
Okay. Interesting. So talk to me about exit strategy, Abheek. Do you have certain tips for the founder how to get a great, a magnificent exit? Is it M&A? Is it IPO? Is it SPAC? Maybe you can share some tips for them.
Yeah. Hey, look, I think but my biggest tip on this, by the way,
Okay.
for founders is don't worry about exits. I'll tell you the reason
Oh,
why. When founders worry about
okay.
exits, they build to exit. Instead,
Right.
the best companies get built to be run forever, right? So, look, the answer to your question is very clear for us. An IPO is the best exit.
Right.
You know?
Mhm.
At the end of the day, we are looking for companies that are, 5, 10, $20 billion companies and even beyond. There is no buyer for a 10, $20 billion company, really. They have to go public. And so for us, we always think the best way to exit is for a company to go public. But from a founder's perspective, you know, the best founders that we've met, when we ask them the question, so how long do you want to build this business for? They say for the rest of my life.
Oh,
Because that's true. Like,
yes.
we have companies in our portfolio where we've been shareholders for 10, 12, 15 years, and they're still growing.
Mhm.
Imagine if you were an investor in Amazon in 1998, okay? And imagine if you said to yourself, hey, 10 years later, I want to exit the company, and 10 years later, you sold Amazon shares.
Yes.
Man, that would have been a massive mistake.
Yeah.
It's true.
Uh-huh.
If you find a company like Amazon, you say, I'm going to be an investor forever.
Mhm.
So our philosophy is we actually never think about exits.
Okay.
We think, what is the way to find a company that can be built forever? Right? And when I say forever, it's not everything is forever, but 10,
Yes.
20, 30 years. So we
Okay.
don't worry about exits at all.
So, what do you think about the Indonesian startup ecosystem so far? And do you see any potential in the next probably 2 to 3 years? What is your take on that?
Oh, 100%. Look, I think we are very committed to Indonesia and Southeast Asia as a market. We in our office in Singapore right now, just around me,
Yes.
we have more than 40 people right now just working full
Wow.
time only on Southeast Asia.
Okay.
Only on Southeast Asia. By the way, beyond this, we have many other people who are shared across many other markets.
Yes.
Everybody in this office is only working on Southeast Asia, and Indonesia is a very key part of that strategy.
Yeah.
So look, our approach is very simple.
Mhm.
When we believe in the power of technology, we believe that growth in the next many years is going to come from technology-led businesses, and every business is going to be a technology-led business.
Yeah.
And so, we are fundamentally optimistic about the future. And when
Mhm.
you're optimistic about the future, you just have to figure out which parts of the market are going to be interesting. And like I said, from our perspective, there are some categories that we really like. I think for Indonesia, look, I'll tell you the challenges that we will all face. One challenge is going to be talent. How do we make sure we attract the best talent? That challenge is going to solve itself because look, young people who are graduating from college, all of them now want to work at startups
Yeah.
because they are seeing that that's where the future is.
Yes.
So the talent problem will solve itself. The
Okay.
market is going to keep on expanding.
Mhm.
And I think the government is being very progressive as well, trying to roll out all these initiatives to help startups, to help businesses be technology first. I think this combination is only going to snowball. And every year, we are starting to see more and more interesting businesses. So we are very bullish and very
Yes.
long-term committed to Indonesia.
Yes. Wow. As a tech writer, I'm really, enthusiastic with your plan for Indonesian startup ecosystem because I'm telling you, it's really diverse right now.
Oh, for
So last
sure.
question, Abheek. How do we get to know you? How do we reach you, especially for Indonesian startup founders that not living in Jabodetabek area, but very, very, other cities? How do we approach you? Is there any LinkedIn or website that we when it comes to pitching you guys, or they have to join search program for getting to know you guys?
No, Jenny, look, I think, by the way, before joining Sequoia, I was a founder. So I went through
Oh,
exactly this as well.
right.
How do you talk to VCs? Actually, the answer
Uh-huh.
is very simple. Just email us.
Okay.
Email me. My email address is on our website. Just email me.
Yes.
What we find, so that's the simplest thing.
Yeah.
By the way, there is a better way to do it,
Mhm.
which is go through somebody who knows people at Sequoia.
Right.
Referrals always help.
Yeah.
That being said, look, all of us there's a reason our email addresses are on the website. My email address, by the way, is my first name dot my last name at sequoiacap.com. Any investor can email me. I would love to meet more founders. Sorry, any founder can email me. I would
Yeah.
love to meet more founders. We are going to be in Jakarta again in the next few weeks. We'll set up some events, try to meet more
Yes.
people. We're really looking forward to spending time with founders in Indonesia.
Yeah. Maybe after this, all the startup founders can, reference this conversation. I've known you from Daily Social, from the discussion.
Perfect. That would
That's
be
a good
amazing.
recommendation, right?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you so much, Abheek, for your time, and looking forward for more effort from Sequoia, from Search, and from Spark. I'm telling you, there's a good program there, and I hope Indonesian startup founders can embrace you guys and can join more. More startup founders can join Sequoia. Thank you, Abheek.
Thank you, Anita.
Have a good day at work, okay?
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.